Hi, my name is Kate Cherry, and I am so excited that you are here. Welcome to this channel where you will find tips and ideas and ways that you too can have a holistic life. I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a person who has been on a health journey with her son for the last decade, learning to heal him from the inside out, along with my family. Our journey has been long. It has been hard. It has been really beautiful in a lot of ways. And I'm so excited to finally be at a place where I can share what I have learned along our journey so that you too can have all of the tips, all of the different ways that you can implement a healthy lifestyle to you and your family, and you can begin to heal yourselves from the inside out. Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to get started. We have been told our entire lives that we need to eat our veggies so that we can grow up and be strong. We've also been told that we are what we eat and that we need to make sure that we have proper and adequate nutrition so that our bodies perform the best way they can. And to a degree, all of that's kind of true. What do we do with our kids who are picky eaters or like certain things or don't like it because of the way it looks? It gets a little complicated. And let me throw a curveball in there. If you're the mom or dad who's been told that your child has a food allergy or multiple, I feel you. Trying to provide for your child, trying to make sure that they have the adequate nutrition, trying to heal them from the inside out and make their life a way that they can live sustainably. A lot. It's a lifestyle adjustment and very far from what society thinks about as a whole. Your entire life changes. You have to suddenly think about, gosh, where can I go out to eat? What kind of things can I even have at the house? What do I snack on? What do I have for my regular meals? How do I make substitutes? There's a ton of psychological energy that goes into rearranging your life based on the food you can't have. And I've been there. I know what that's like firsthand, where you have to feel like you start over from scratch, feel like you have to throw everything out and just begin and hope to goodness that you're not messing it up along the way. I know it's a lot. But I'm here to tell you that having traversed this terrain for the last 10 years with my son who has pretty severe food allergies, I can tell you that there's hope and that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Even if your life has to look a little bit different, it becomes your new normal. And there are ways to circumvent feeling like you are just completely hopeless, that you have no resources, or you don't know where to turn in order to make the differences in your life that need to sustain your health. So, what I want to share with you today, how do you make the baby steps to get into a new lifestyle when you are given the diagnoses that you have to for the betterment of your health? Whether it's food allergies, whether it's autoimmune, whether it's some other reason, celiac disease, even Crohn's or irritable bowel or any of those. How do you navigate the world of food when you know that the very things that are out there are tearing you up on the inside? There's three steps that I like to do from approach, and I'm all about doing things in small, moderate, bite-sized pieces and do things that work for your family. So the first thing is to look at food not as a scary, terrible thing, but to look at it as an opportunity for, okay, I can't do this, but I could do that. Looking more at the glass is half full instead of half empty. It's all about perspective. And I know it may just sound like, oh, that's just great, but it's true. If you change your mindset, if you change your perspective, suddenly things become more clear. What we did is instead of looking at food and the scarcity mindset of, oh gosh, we have to avoid everything and we can't do this and we're not allowed to do that and that's dangerous and that's not safe, like hear all that negativity. Instead, we looked at things of, okay, this food gives us energy. This food makes my tummy feel good. Food I know is giving me all of the vitamins and nutrients I need in order to be thriving and to make me sleep well, to make it so that I want to play outside, make it so that I sleep well at night, all the things. But to do that, we had to look at whole foods and we really had to do an inventory of our diets to make sure that what we were getting made sense. We started looking at food. Tip number one, look at food like a rainbow. The more whole foods that you can pull from the plethora of foods that are out there that are whole foods. And what I mean by whole foods, let's unpack that a minute, because there's a lot of buzz out there in the health world of what all these terms mean. Whole foods means that it is of the earth grown. An example would be an orange. It comes from an orange tree. It's not processed. It's not put into a machine. It's not put into a factory to do anything to it to make it into something else. Instead, it comes off the tree. You eat it in its entirety, and it's done. That is what is considered a whole food. Can you blend whole foods, put them together? Absolutely. You totally can do that. And that's how we get different recipes, right? The more whole foods that you can incorporate into your diet, the more your body recognizes it as a real food. When we start putting processed things, and what I mean by processed is when you take something from its original state and do something to it to create something else. The more levels of processed or processes that you go through in order to get a food to whatever state it is in, the more the body will not recognize it as an actual food. And that's where your issues begin. It's called inflammation. If you've ever heard of gut inflammation, it's a real thing. So just as a small education here, the gut microbiome all handles in here, right? About 90% of our immune system is handled in this area. So when you have food allergies, when you have autoimmune issues, good chance is that right in this area is the part that is being affected of why you're having problems. So if your body does not recognize food because it is chock full of preservatives, because it has been refined so much that it is no longer recognizable as an actual food, your body starts sending off signals and is like, what the heck is this? And then as time goes on, and I won't get into the weeds too much of what all that means, but as time goes on, your body starts reacting to that and you start getting symptoms of all kinds. It can be everything from just feeling bloated and gross. It can be food allergies. It can be brain fog, fatigue. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. But the issue that we have in our diets today is that we do not have enough whole foods because we have been conditioned that everything that we buy in the grocery store is what we need to be eating. There are some amazing things in grocery stores. Are they absolutely critical in today's society? 100%. Without them, we don't survive because most of us don't farm anymore, right? And if we work full time or if we have all of these different provisions that we have to keep up with in our lives, there's literally no way for us to be sustainable on our own right now in the culture where we live, at least for everybody, to grow our own. If you have land, if you have a green thumb and you have the desire, you have the know how, and you have the drive to learn how to do all of that, or maybe you were blessed growing up and you learned all of these things from your family, that's phenomenal. Go do those things. But for a lot of us, we didn't grow up with that. Or maybe we only have like a little parcel of land, like a tenth of an acre in a neighborhood that gets full sun, no trees at all of any kind of shade, and you live in the hottest place in America and you feel like you can't grow anything because it all just burns up. There's that too. And then we have the bugs and all the things that go with it. So, I mean, yes, it requires some work, it requires some effort. I get it. Most of us can't survive or cannot support our entire family off of growing our own food. But what we can do is we can start making smart decisions in the grocery store and we don't have to break the bank to do it. That's the key. When you live on lower to middle income salary, it can be really, really hard to feel like you can eat well and do it within your budget. I get that. But the big piece I want you to take away is to remember to eat the rainbow. So, what you're looking for, what I mean by rainbow, you're looking for your red foods, your orange foods, your yellow foods, your green foods, blues, purples, pinks, all of it, right? And that could be anything. Like, let's start with the reds. That could be your apples, that could be your beets, that could be your cherries, your raspberries. Any of those kind of foods would match that description. With your oranges, literally an orange, right? That's orange. Your orange bell peppers. You could do carrots. I mean, there's tons of different examples of what will fit into each of these categories. And the cool thing is, if you do it with your kids, it becomes a game. So if you have, and we can make this too, but if you have like a little sheet where you can write out the rainbow and do the reds and the oranges and the yellows and the greens and the blues, have your child work with you and say, hey, what fits in these different categories that are safe foods for us that would work really well with our bodies? And then they get excited about eating them. I was watched this happen with my own daughter. I was like, I don't know. I was a little skeptical about it, but no, it actually works. Like they actually get into this and they're like, yeah, that's kind of cool. And then they can mark it off as like a little checklist. It's really cool. So the goal is you want to eat the rainbow. You're looking for a medley of foods that you can put in your body every single day that are different colors. The more, because each of those different fruits, each of those different vegetables, they have different antioxidants, they have different vitamins, they have different nutrient contents, they have different things that allow your body to thrive. Here's the caveat to that. If you have a food allergy to one of those, like my child does, and you can't do it, what do? Well, it's a good food, right? Still has the food allergy. We have to work around it. So we figure out different alternatives that we can use in place of those as best we can to still round out that rainbow and make sure that we are pulling from different varieties of foods and not eating the same thing every single day within reason and whatever's possible. And I will tell you, as a caveat to that, we were on the same food every single day because, quite frankly, that's all my son's diet could handle. We were at a place where he could only do sweet potatoes and pears for about 4 months. He also had different formula at the time that was helping him sustain his nutrition because obviously that's not enough to live off of at all. But that's all he could tolerate because we had so much inflammation in his system, we could not figure out how to keep it down. Since then, though, we've been able to up his foods to well over 50. So we've come a long way from where we started, but we did it by cutting down the inflammation. And number one, starting with that rainbow and making sure he had a plethora of whole foods to choose from. Number two, if your child has food allergies or you know that there are different foods that he or she is sensitive to, look for alternatives for those foods that will still meet the nutritional content that you need to meet in the way of calories, in the way of proteins, in the way of fats, in the way of low sugar, all of those things. Look for alternatives to that. There's a freebie that you can download right below. I'll put the link to it right below in this podcast video that shows you substitutes that you can make for milk and eggs. Those are the top two allergens, statistically speaking, for people to have. And you, by law, at least here in America, you have to be able to label if a food contains those ingredients amongst others. But it has to now say whether it contains milk or eggs because those allergies are so prolific among people in general. Why is that? I've dug a lot into that of thinking of why, and it all comes down to inflammation. How do we curb the inflammation piece? Well, again, you eat the rainbow, that's one. And step two is you look for ingredients that can be alternative to some of the inflammatory ones that are bothering your system. I try all that I can to find different ways that I can substitute milk. And I use different nut milks for that. You can, if you're not, don't have an issue with rice, you can do a rice milk. You can do a coconut milk. There's a lot of different ways that you can substitute milk. Does it taste as great drinking out of a glass? It is different, very different than cow's milk. And some of those may not be safe for you, but you try to figure out ways that you can do workarounds. And again, this little cheat sheet that I have hopefully will be of help to you, and you're free to grab one of those to see if that can help get you on the right path of substitutions. As far as eggs go, I mean, there's a whole medley of different ways that you can do eggs, and one of them is my favorite. It's applesauce. You throw applesauce into a baked good, and it cooks just like an egg. So again, all of my little tidbits on that are in that freebie down below. And the third thing that you can do, we've got to move away from preservatives. I can't stress this enough. One thing that I did not realize was happening to us for a very long time is all of the things that are baked into the processed foods in our supermarket. It's wild when you start reading labels. And I've gotten really good at reading labels because I've had to. I've had to look for all of the things that could possibly bother my kid. And the list was extensive for a long period of time. We have since been able to whittle that down, which is great. But preservatives and additives and things of that nature have always still been a culprit for us. Because I know as soon as I start introducing those kind of things back into my son's diet, his system's going to fall apart because it has. I've seen it. I've watched it happen firsthand. And if things slip in, like we start to have problems. How do you do that though in America? How in the world do you navigate all of the foods that we have in America when basically everything in our supermarket, it probably 75% of it has like additives and things like that? I won't lie, it's hard. It's really, really, really hard. I've had to get really good at knowing what brands to look for that have the healthy ingredients that I'm always in favor of versus not. I mean, I have snacks that my child at school is and her classmates are offered every single day. Because I've talked with the teacher, I now can say yes or no to whether or not the snack is what I would deem safe. But I find it amazing to think that most people have no idea what ingredients are going into these snacks and why their children are acting and behaving certain ways and eating after eating them. So what I didn't realize with these snacks is, and they're a whole body of different things, but it's mostly processed because it has to be individually packaged. It has been that way ever since the COVID crisis. And what they do is they put tons and tons and tons of things in it. Everything from loads of sugar. Like one of them, I think, had 16 grams of sugar. That's the equivalent of like two or three Oreos in a bag, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, you can definitely eat things in moderation. So please don't hear me say that, or don't hear me say that you can't do this at all. No, no, no. Everything can be done in moderation, right? But when they have not had anything on their bellies for 3 hours, and then you give them that as a snack, and then they don't have anything for like another hour or two until they get home, their body sugars are going all over the place. So I look at that and I'm like, I don't want the meltdown when I get home. So I'm going to choose not to do that this time. But I have to very scrupulously look at what's included. And I do, like, I avoid things with high levels of sugar in it. I also avoid things with chemicals and preservatives such as BHT, BHA, potassium bromate. Um, and I try to avoid things with crazy preservatives in them. BHT, BHA, finding things that have TBHQ in them, things that have a lot of dyes, that have other shelf stabilizing preservatives such as datum. Like I avoid all of that, but I know what to look for. That's the key. And that's why I want to help you figure out, how do we get your kid into a great place where they don't feel like they're just surviving out there and their moods are all over the place, and with all of the gut health that affects hormones, like all of that. We want our kids to be kind of level and even keeled, right? We want them to enjoy life. We want them to be able to participate in things at school, but we also don't necessarily want to put all the junk in their bodies, because I promise you, it's not doing them any kind of favors. Does it mean that they have to not be part of anything? Absolutely not. The great news is that there's alternatives for those things. Does it take a little bit of work on our part? Yeah, it does. Because our society does not support this idea of giving fresh food to kids for the most part. In some places, they may, in school systems. In a lot of school systems, they don't. I know they don't in mine. Not, at least not with the prepackaged stuff and the snacks that I've seen come across my phone daily for the last month. It's a lot. It's a lot to traverse and a lot to navigate. But the truth is, like, they have sprinkles out there that are not made out of dyes, but they're actually colored with foods like beets and carrot juice and things like that to make them orange and red the way that nature intended it to be. Why can't we feed that kind of stuff to our kids? The truth is, like, if your child has dye, will it affect them? Maybe, maybe not. Everybody develops it different because all of us have different microbiomes, right? Some of us are more sensitive to things than others. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to roll the dice with chance and start having these things stack up to the point where we begin to have serious complications and issues from it because we have not been living a life that's healthy. So, 3 key takeaways for this. 1, eat the rainbow. Find all the foods that fit the different colors and incorporate your kid to do it. Make it a fun, exciting thing for them to do. Make it a game. They love that kind of stuff. And then give them little like check marks or stars or whatnot to say, hey, did you eat your orange vegetable today? Or did you eat something orange today? Did you eat something that was yellow? And then like get them to start thinking about it so that they can start making these healthy choices for themselves. Number 2, look for alternative ingredients if you or your kid have sensitivities or inflammation or allergies to different ingredients that otherwise would be deemed as good or safe. The easy way to do that is to look for things that would complement maybe the substitute that you can't do anymore, i.e., the milk or the eggs. Sometimes wheat. I mean, like any of it. It could be a whole medley of different things. What are the different combinations you can put together that'll make that doable for you and sustainable? And then the third thing, start moving away from preservatives. Do you have to do it all at once? No. I think that's a lot to ask. But what we did is we did baby steps. And so first thing I did is I took an inventory of my pantry. What do I have in here? And I started categorizing things. I started looking for some of these key ingredients I wanted to keep out of our food because I knew firsthand what kind of damage it was doing to our systems, what kind of health issues it was having on our everyday lives. How can we start removing that slowly? So, as I started to slowly replace things, finding alternative brands, finding alternative ingredients, I just wouldn't buy those products anymore. And they would slowly come out of my pantry and I would replace it with something new. I couldn't afford to do a complete overhaul of my pantry at first. It was too much. Like it just wasn't, we didn't have it in the budget to overhaul thousands of dollars worth of food and just say, nope, done, sorry, finished, and then continue on that way. We had to do it one step at a time. And we did. And now that we've had so many years of different things, I found it very interesting that different foods that were causing issues back a while back now cause huge issues because we've been away from them for so long too. And I realized, wow, I can't imagine. Like my body was kind of hanging on, figuring that out. But then when it actually was taken away, I felt way better. But then if I had another bite of it or something was introduced later on, I felt it tenfold. Gosh, I can't imagine where I'd be if I had kept the same patterns up all these years. Same with my kids. My kids, they still go to public school. They still go to parties. They still participate in all the fun things. But we just have to curb it a little bit to make sure that their diets are better in compliance with eating well. And to be honest, when we throw parties, I throw out the healthy stuff. And you know the irony? The kids that can have whatever they want because they don't have allergies, they don't have anything, they're gobbling it up too and saying, oh my gosh, this is so good. I was like, I know it is. So I challenge you, if you think that parties have to be with all junk food or the kids won't eat it, that's not true. One of the most hot commodities at the last party that we threw, blueberries and tangerine oranges. It was great. Kids gobbled them up like they were just going out of style. It was fabulous. And to know that they were getting some good antioxidants and good nutrition in their system. And yeah, they had some of the desserts and stuff like that too. But we also made our own desserts. We made them from scratch and we made them with all the ingredients that I knew were safe. And kids wanted like 2 or 3 of them. And again, these are kids not with food allergies. These are the kids that can eat whatever they want all the time. And they do. They still loved it. So I encourage you, don't look at food as this scary, terrible thing. Let's help get our kids into a place and get ourselves into a place where we can sustain our bodies one baby step at a time and encourage each other to be like, we can do this. I encourage you, you can do it. Again, don't feel like you have to do everything at once. Just do one little thing at a time. And slowly, as you start to change your patterns, as you start to change your buying, as you start to introduce these new foods, not only will you start to feel better, your taste buds will change for the better, and you know that you are giving your body the best shot and you're giving your kids' bodies the best shot that they can for sustainable and good health in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. If you feel like this could help somebody, please feel free to share it. I'd love to get the word out there about how we can better our kids, how we can better ourselves with nutritional health, but do it in a way that's sustainable, easy, and affordable. Till next time.